Yo, thank you for checking out today's video. So today's small project isn't something that I planned on filming, but it is something I'd like to get taken care of as soon as possible. Just because that's kind of what happens when you commit to driving the same car back to back every single day. You know, accidents happen and sometimes that's just life. So let me go ahead and flip the camera around and show you what we're working on today. So on a recent trip back from the Bay Area, we actually made full contact with what is easily the biggest, most humongous tumbleweed you've ever seen in your whole entire life. I think, no joke, it might have been like twice the size of a beach ball. This is huge, man. I'm talking like a humongous sized tumbleweed, and we ran into it face first, which is a pretty big bummer because what ended up happening is, first of all, it scuffed up the entire front end, and actually spent all morning today kind of trying to get some polish out of the front bumper, and I think I did pretty good getting a majority of the scratches out. But what also happened is it ended up smashing in the front grille here, and there's a pretty good amount of damage here. I mean, I think you can kind of see that a lot of the tabs here at the bottom side were obviously broken. And we actually ended up fixing this front grille earlier in the year. We had some makeshift tabs here on the side that also popped out of place. That, and I think the biggest bummer overall is going to be the front bumper. We got a little bit of shine out of it, but there's not really a cure for this paint cracking that you see kind of here on the bottom side. The most interesting thing is that it actually pushed in the front bumper as well. I don't know if you can see that, but it shifted it inward, so you can see that it's sitting a little bit too flush here on the headlight. This rear tab has been pushed out of place. This driver's side tab is way out of place for sure, and this little corner here on the headlight on the driver's side has actually been pushed in a pretty good amount. As you can see, the fitment is not very flush. So the plan today is to actually pull the entire front end off to see if there's anything that we can do while we're here at home before we look at other alternatives, but I'm gonna start pulling stuff off the front end. So I just pulled the front bumper off. There's a couple of things I'm noticing off the rip. So for one, we have a lot of remains of what was once a tumbleweed. That's one thing, but what's more important here is that I'm seeing a lot of play. I don't know if you can see that or hear it. And the front passenger side headlight as well as the front driver's side. So something here is definitely out of whack. So I'm gonna do a little bit more finessing and see what I can find. So I ended up pulling out the front driver's side headlight, and it took a little bit of finessing. I didn't want to spend too much time looking for a guide, so I kind of just figured it out, and it wasn't too hard once you play with it a little bit. So let me show you what I did on the passenger side. So it's pretty easy for the most part. What I learned is that you have to pull this bracket off first, which is just 2 bolts down here, 2 bolts down here, all of them 10s, and then there's 3 tabs for the headlight, and then it pops right out as soon as you pull the harnesses behind it. Off. So this bolt that sits just above the radiator support was loose, so that kind of goes to show that something here was definitely going on. Not bad. So I just got done taking apart the entire front end pretty much. I'll show you in just a second, but it's looking pretty spec from what I can tell. It doesn't look like anything is bent. It doesn't look like anything is out of whack. It really kind of just feels like a fitment issue where things just kind of need to be tightened and then retightened in different orders to get them to kind of sit flush, which is good news. I would way rather find out that than come to find that there's frame damage or that there are bent parts that need to be replaced and painted and kind of all that jazz. So as far as I can tell, this is good news. So here's kind of what we're left with. Pulled the headlights, which I'll show you here in just a second. Pulled the front bumper, obviously. The lower splash guard has always been missing. That hasn't occurred as of recently, but this is the first time that I've ever actually disassembled the car kind of to this level, so it's pretty cool. Just kind of seeing it all sort of like fit up and getting an idea for like how everything kind of installs. But it looks pretty legit for the most part. Like I said, like all these, you know, brackets and stuff, I mean, they look cherry. Like none of them look like they need to be replaced or anything like that. We do have a little bit of rusting here, which makes me like not too uncomfortable, honestly. It's not really a huge deal. But as you can see here on the fender, it kind of cracked through the paint. I'm not really sure what the deal is here, but it looks like it's somewhat starting to spread. I don't know. I mean, you tell me in the comments and let me know if this is something that I should be worried about. We have a pretty good amount of rust right here too. So I mean, I would really like to get this stuff painted, but I just don't know if it's like there yet. I mean, like I said, if money were no object, this would be painted. But I think what I might do is get a rattle can and just kind of touch up some of these lower sections so that they don't get any worse. And just kind of for my OCD, I would like to see this kind of repainted. So I may or may not do that. It may or may not be in this video. So the front headlights are super dingy. I know, like I'm gonna get to cleaning them. I really truly am, and I think you're gonna be super stoked on the result once that's done. But in the meantime, it doesn't feel like anything is wrong with them. We're missing a nut here. Oh. Definitely expect a cleanup video of these coming soon. In the meantime, it feels like we have some cleaning up to do, so we're gonna get started on that. So the goal today is to get this car as clean as possible, which is kind of what I want to do since it's already apart. There's a couple of areas here that should be pretty quick. For example, like this headlight harness you can see is pretty gunked up, and it honestly looks pretty gnarly, so we're gonna tend to that. That should be pretty quick. We're also prepping for paint. I don't know how gnarly I'm gonna get with painting yet, because there are a few, like, you know, slightly more concerning areas, like this bolt, for example. I know it's not a big deal, but I'm wondering if I should, you know, tend to this now, tend to this later. You know, wondering if I should just like nip it in the butt while I can. But first things first, we're gonna get this car cleaned up. Just got the passenger side all done, and it looks pretty good, man. Yeah, details, that's what it's all about. Okay, so here's that bolt I was showing you earlier, and I was all tripping because I was like, dude, this thing is resting, like this whole thing is going bad. And then I started wiping it away, and then it literally just came right off. So I'm thinking a lot of this can probably be wiped away, so I'm gonna pull this bolt off super quick. Okay, so maybe it is a little bit worse than I thought. So there's actually a pretty decent sized hole in the fender now. Okay, so I just got done cleaning the car. It cleaned up pretty well. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I was able to wipe off a majority of what I wanted to see gone off the car, so we were able to get super deep in all these like nooks and crannies, and it cleaned up really well. But we have a couple of problems here, so let me kind of show you what I'm talking about. So from 2 feet, I'm super happy with how this turned out. We were able to get in here in all the nooks and crannies and stuff, and we were able to get this, you know, kind of inner headlight zone super clean, so I'm really happy with that. And we were able to kind of explore to triple check to make sure that everything is looking right and it's not bent. So everything in here is pretty spec. So that was kind of the whole point of today's video, so I'm really happy that that turned out well. While I was in here, I kind of got carried away with like the headlight connectors. I think I showed them to you earlier. These were pretty gunked up, but these are all looking pretty cherry right now, so I'm really happy with how these turned out. Got the rest of the front end all wiped off, and everything looks really good. Case is the same on the driver's side, but what I should show you is this section right here. Earlier I showed you a little bit of the rusting issue that we kind of had on this like front core support section, so I actually want to show that to you now. So this bolt here was looking pretty gnarly, and what I've done is I've pulled a couple of more bolts sort of down the fender just to kind of get underneath it. But if you look really closely, it's a little hard to tell because I've already started scuffing this earlier, but the rust here was actually starting to eat away at the fender. And the reason why there was rust in here in the first place is because, dude, what the flip? This whole section is loose, man. This thing was loose. Not only that, the bolt in the fender was actually also super loose. So there was a bunch of play here, just extra slack in between these two components, and it was just collecting water and just chilling in there. So this fender is actually probably just like within range to save it. I mean, it's a good fender. It's not the original fender the car came with, but structurally very sound. Underneath it, you can kind of see that there's a little bit of rusting here on the actual frame of the car. So this is a big deal. We should really tend to this. I know that we're gonna have to do this. So the question is what the best plan of attack is. Pretty much the same story on the driver's side. Good amount of rust underneath the fender, started eating away at the steel a little bit. We also have a pretty solid paint crack, and then the same play obviously resulted in a similar amount of rust underneath. So I knew that we were gonna be painting a little bit going into this, but now this has turned into a slightly bigger job just because there are a lot of really small areas that need just like a little bit of paint, and to get to them without tearing the whole car apart is gonna be a little finicky. So I think I'm gonna end this right here because I genuinely want your opinion. So I'm probably gonna upload this video as is and give you a chance to kind of join the conversation and let me know what you think I should do. The biggest limiting factor is not being able to do this the way that I want because of like my living situation and like not having the you know, appropriate tools to kind of do this. I'd love to take it to a professional, but I like don't have money for that right now. So anyway, thank you for checking this out if you did. Thank you for making this part in the video if you did. I'm looking forward to giving some more updates on the S, and I will definitely let you know how it goes. Thank you for checking this out. I will see you in the next one. Peace out. Yo, So I really want your feedback on what you think the format of these videos should be. I generally don't like posting videos without a resolution, kind of like today's video. We sort of stopped in the middle of this work. Much prefer to post, you know, videos with like a beginning, middle, and end, right, where we kind of finished what we started in the same video. But to keep it real with you, that's just not real life sometimes. Like, that just doesn't always work out. So I think a bigger goal of mine is to kind of keep these as like an ongoing conversation where we can kind of check in and provide small updates, because that to me is legit. Like, that's what owning like a car and working on it is like. It's just kind of baby steps, you know, but you keep the wheels turning. And waiting in, you know, a week in between uploads is tough, and I don't like doing it, to be honest with you. I like posting the small stuff, and I really hope that you rock with that, because that's just kind of like the wave that I'm on. So anyway, if you have feedback on that, please let me know. I like posting the small updates, but sometimes I just get nervous and I just wonder, like, is this good content? Like, is it interesting? Like, is it okay to post stuff, you know, halfway through? Anyway, yeah, so please let me know. I'm interested in what you have to say, so I will check back in with you soon. Peace out.